Max, why didn't you invite me to your wedding?
I didn't know that. You weren't needed. We invited special people to our wedding.
Special people? After everything I sacrificed for you?
I called my son to ask when his wedding was. My daughter-in-law answered and said, "We got married yesterday. We only invited special people." I had paid their rent for 3 years. I bought her wedding dress, and I wasn't special enough to attend. Tell me honestly right now, would you have kept paying after this? Comment yes or no, because I need to know I'm not crazy. My name is Renate Schmidt. I'm 71 years old. I live in a small house in Bremen, Germany that I own outright. My son Max is 34. 3 years ago, he met Lena. She's 29. Within 2 months of dating, they moved in together. That's when the requests started. "Mom, can you help with rent this month?" Just until I get my next paycheck. I said yes, 500 euros. The next month, the same request. And the next, and the next. Drop a comment if you've ever helped. Your adult children. With money, and they never stopped asking. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me where you're watching from. I need to know other parents have lived through this. And please subscribe to this page because mothers like me deserve to be heard. We are pushing to reach 10,000 subscribers by March 2026, and your support means everything. For 3 years, I paid their rent every single month. That's 18,000 euros. But I also bought their furniture, their kitchen table, their couch, their bed, their television. I filled their refrigerator every week with groceries. When Lena got engaged, I took her shopping and bought her a 1,200 euro wedding dress. I thought we were close. I thought she saw me as a second mother. Then last month I made a mistake. Max called asking for an extra 1,000 euros for the honeymoon. I said no. I said, "Max, you're 34 years old. You and Lena both work. You need to start saving your own money." He got angry. He said I was being selfish, that I didn't support their happiness. I tried to explain. I wasn't saying no forever, just that they needed to try on their own first. He hung up on me. 2 weeks later, I called to ask about the wedding date. Lena answered. Her voice was cold. She said, "Oh, Renate, didn't Max tell you? We got married yesterday. It was a small ceremony. Just close family and special people." I felt like I'd been punched. I said, "But I'm Max's mother." She laughed. A mean laugh. She said, "You've been so negative about our relationship. We didn't want that energy at our wedding." Negative? Because I asked them to contribute to their own rent? Comment below if you think asking your adult kids to pay their own bills makes you negative. I'll wait. I hung up and I cried. I cried for hours. Then my phone rang again a week later. It was Max, screaming, "Mom, where's the rent money? We're 3 days late. The landlord is threatening to evict us." I sat there in silence. He kept yelling, "Mom, are you listening? We need 500 euros by tomorrow." I took a deep breath and I said something I'd never said before. I said no. He said, "What?" I said, "No, Max, I'm done. You excluded me from your wedding because I'm not special enough. So I'm not special enough to pay your bills either." He started screaming that I was cruel, that I was abandoning him. I hung up, and then I did something I should have done years ago. I blocked both of their numbers. I hired a lawyer. I changed my locks. And you know what they did next? They tried to have me declared mentally incompetent so they could take control of my house and my savings. If your own child tried to have you declared crazy to steal your money, what would you do? Comment and tell me. But I fought back. And what happened in that courtroom, every parent needs to see, because what the judge said to my son and daughter-in-law will make you cheer. Before you go, answer me this. Am I wrong for cutting them off? Or did they push me to this? Comment your honest answer. And if you've been used as an ATM by your own children, write "I understand." Subscribe to this channel. Share this with a parent who needs to hear it. Let me take you back to the beginning so you understand how a mother ends up at war with her own son. Because this didn't start 3 years ago. This started 34 years ago when I gave birth to Max. I was 37 years old when Max was born. A late baby, unexpected. My husband Klaus and I had been trying for years. We'd almost given up. And then there he was. Perfect, healthy, ours. Klaus held him in the hospital and said, "This is our miracle, Renate." And Klaus and I were not wealthy. We were working class. Klaus worked at a shipping company. I worked part-time as a secretary. We lived in a small apartment in Bremen. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. And we were happy. When Max was 5 years old, Klaus got sick. It started with headaches, then dizziness. Then one day he collapsed at work. Brain aneurysm. He died before the ambulance arrived. I was 42 years old, a widow, with a 5-year-old son, and no idea how I was going to survive. Klaus had a small life insurance policy, 50,000 euros. I used it to buy a tiny house on the outskirts of Bremen. Nothing special. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a small yard, but it was mine. Paid in full, no mortgage, no landlord. It was security, and I needed that more than anything. I went back to work full-time. I took extra shifts. I did everything I could to provide for Max. I worked as a secretary during the day, cleaned offices at night. Sometimes I worked weekends doing bookkeeping for small businesses. I was exhausted all the time, but I didn't complain because Max needed me. Max was a good boy, sweet, loving. He never asked for much. When other kids had expensive toys, Max was happy with secondhand books from the thrift store. When other kids went on vacations, Max was content playing in our small yard. He'd say, "Mama, I don't need anything else. I have you," and my heart would break a little because I wanted to give him more. I saved every penny I could. I put money away for Max's education, for his future. I lived on almost nothing so he could have something. I wore the same clothes for years. I never went out. I never bought anything for myself. Everything was for Max. Max did well in school. He was smart, hardworking. He got good grades. He was respectful. Teachers loved him. I was so proud. I thought, I'm doing it right. I'm raising a good man. When Max turned 18, he got into university. Not a fancy one, but a good one. He studied business administration. I helped him with tuition, with books, with living expenses. I worked extra shifts to make sure he didn't have to worry about money. I wanted him to focus on his studies, to build a future. Max graduated when he was 23. I was so proud. My son, the first in our family to get a university degree. I cried at his graduation, not because I was sad, but because I'd done it. I'd raised him alone, and he'd succeeded. Max got a job at a marketing firm in Bremen. Entry level, not great pay, but it was a start. He moved into a small apartment. I helped him with the deposit, bought him some furniture, made sure he had everything he needed. I thought, this is temporary. He'll get on his feet soon. But months turned into years, and Max never seemed to get ahead. He'd call me every few months. "Mama, I'm a little short this month. Can you help?" And I always said yes. 200 euros here, 300 there. I told myself it was temporary, that he'd figure it out eventually. When Max was 31, he met Lena. He called me excited. "Mama, I met someone. She's amazing. I think she's the one." I was happy for him. I'd been waiting for Max to find someone, to settle down, to build a life. He brought her to meet me 2 weeks later. Lena was beautiful. Blonde hair, blue eyes, tall and slim. She worked as a dental assistant. She seemed nice enough, polite, friendly. She smiled a lot. But there was something, I couldn't put my finger on it, something in the way she looked at me, like she was sizing me up. Within 2 months, Max and Lena moved in together. A bigger apartment, more expensive. Max called me the day they signed the lease. He said, "Mama, we're so excited. But the rent is a bit higher than I expected." I said, "How much?" He said, 900 euros a month. I said, "Can you afford that?" He hesitated. He said, "Well, that's the thing. Lena and I were hoping you could help us. Just for a few months until we get settled." I should have said no. I should have told him he needed to find something cheaper. But I didn't, because he was my son, and I wanted him to be happy. I said, "How much do you need?" He said 500 would help a lot. I said, "Okay." That first month, I sent 500 euros. The second month, Max called again. "Mama, I'm so sorry. We're still adjusting. Can you help one more time?" I sent another 500. The third month, the same. And the fourth, and the fifth. Before I knew it, a year had passed, and I was still sending 500 euros every month. I started to worry, not just about the money, but about what I was teaching Max. That he didn't have to be responsible, that Mama would always bail him out. But every time I thought about stopping, Max would call, and his voice would sound so stressed, so desperate, and I couldn't say no. Then Lena started calling too. She'd say, "Renate, thank you so much for helping us. You're such a blessing." She'd send me pictures of their apartment, their new couch, their new television, their new kitchen table. And I'd think, wait, if they can afford new furniture, why can't they afford rent? But I didn't ask, because I didn't want to cause problems. 2 years into their relationship, Max called with news. "Mama, I proposed. Lena said yes, we're getting married." I was happy for him. "Really?" I said. "That's wonderful, Max. I'm so happy for you." He said, "We're planning the wedding for next year. Small and simple. just close family. I said, that sounds perfect. A few weeks later, Lena called. She said, Renate, I was hoping we could go dress shopping together. I was touched. I said, of course, I'd love to. She said, great, I found a few shops I want to visit. We set a date. The day of dress shopping arrived. I met Lena at a bridal boutique in downtown Bremen, the kind of place with champagne and velvet couches. Expensive. Lena tried on dress after dress, each one more beautiful than the last, and each one more expensive. Finally, she found the one. A stunning white gown with lace sleeves and a long train. She looked beautiful. She said, Renate, what do you think? I said, you look like a princess. She smiled. Then she looked at the price tag. 1,200 euros. She bit her lip. She said, it's perfect, but it's a bit out of our budget. I knew what she was doing. I knew she was waiting for me to offer, and I did. I said, let me buy it for you. Her face lit up. She said, really? Oh, Renate, thank you so much. She hugged me, and I felt good, like I was helping, like I was part of something. Over the next few months, the requests kept coming. Mama, can you help with the catering deposit? Mama, can you help with the photographer? Mama, can you help with the flowers? And I kept saying yes, because I thought this was what mothers did. They helped their children. They supported their dreams. But then something changed. Max called one evening. He said, Mama, Lena and I are planning a honeymoon. Greece, 2 weeks. I said, that sounds wonderful. He said, the thing is, we need an extra 1,000 euros to make it work. I paused. I'd been helping them for 3 years. 18,000 euros in rent alone, plus furniture, plus groceries, plus the wedding dress, plus the wedding expenses. I was tired, and I was starting to feel used. I said, Max, I think you and Lena should save for the honeymoon yourselves. There was silence. Then he said, what? I said, you're both adults. You both work. You should be able to save 1,000 euros. He said, Mama, we don't have time to save. The wedding is in 2 months. I said, then maybe you should plan a smaller honeymoon. His voice changed. Cold, angry. He said, I can't believe you're being so selfish. I said, selfish? He said, yes. After everything Lena and I have been through, you can't help with this one thing? I said, Max, I've been helping you for 3 years. I pay your rent every month. I bought Lena's dress. I've given you thousands of euros. He said, and now you're throwing it in my face? I said, I'm not throwing anything in your face. I'm just asking you to start taking responsibility. He said, you don't support our happiness. And he hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, shaking. Had I been too harsh? Was I being selfish? I didn't think so. But Max's words stung. 2 weeks went by. Max didn't call, didn't text, nothing. I tried calling him. Voicemail. I tried texting. No response. I was being punished for saying no. 3 weeks after our argument, I called again. I just wanted to ask about the wedding date, to know when it was so I could be there. Lena answered. Her voice was ice cold. She said, oh, Renate, hi. I said, hi, Lena. I was calling to ask about the wedding. When is it? She paused. Then she said, oh, Max didn't tell you? I said, tell me what? She said, we got married yesterday. My heart stopped. I said, what? She said, yeah, it was a small ceremony, just close family and special people. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I said, but I'm Max's mother. She laughed. Not a kind laugh, a mean one. She said, you've been so negative about our relationship lately. We didn't want that energy at our wedding. I said, negative? Because I asked you to pay your own rent? She said, it's not just that, Renate. You've been controlling, judgmental. We needed our wedding day to be positive. I said, I paid for your dress. She said, and we appreciate that. But money doesn't buy you a seat at the table. I hung up. I sat in my kitchen and I cried. Not quiet tears, loud, ugly sobs. Because I'd given them everything. And they'd erased me from the most important day of Max's life. For a week, I heard nothing. Then my phone rang. It was Max, I answered, hoping he was calling to apologize. But he wasn't. He was screaming, Mom, where is the rent money? We're 3 days late. The landlord is threatening to evict us. I sat there in silence. He kept yelling, are you listening? We need 500 euros by tomorrow. I took a deep breath, and I said something I'd never said before. I said no. He said, what? I said, no, Max. I'm not giving you any more money. He said, are you serious? I said, yes. You excluded me from your wedding because I'm not special enough. So I'm not special enough to pay your bills either. He started screaming, you're abandoning me. You're a terrible mother. How can you do this? I said, I've helped you for 3 years, Max. I've given you everything, and you repay me by cutting me out of your life. He said, you're being petty. I said, I'm being honest, and I hung up. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't send the rent money, and it felt good. Scary, but good. 2 days later, Lena called. Her voice was sweet. Fake. She said, Renate, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I said, no misunderstanding, Lena. I'm done. She said, Max is your son. How can you abandon him? I said, I didn't abandon him. He abandoned me at his own wedding. She said, we already explained that. You were being negative. I said, asking you to pay your own rent is not negative. It's called being an adult. She said, if you don't help us, we'll be evicted. I said, then maybe you should get a cheaper apartment. She hung up. A week later, Max showed up at my house. I saw him through the window. I didn't open the door. He knocked. Then he pounded. Then he yelled, Mom, open the door. We need to talk. I didn't move. He yelled for 10 minutes. Then he left. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail from a law firm, a petition for guardianship. Max and Lena were claiming I was mentally incompetent, that I was making irrational financial decisions, that I needed a legal guardian to manage my affairs. They wanted control of my house, my savings, everything. I called a lawyer immediately. Her name was Frau Becker. She read the petition. She said, this is absurd. Do you have any history of mental illness? I said, no. She said, have you been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's? I said, no. She said, then they have no case. I said, so what do I do? She said, we fight it. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. I was terrified. What if the judge believed them? What if I lost everything? The day of the hearing arrived. I walked into the courtroom with Frau Becker. Max and Lena were already there, with their lawyer, a smug-looking man in an expensive suit. Max wouldn't look at me. Lena smirked. The judge was an older woman, stern, no nonsense. She looked at Max's lawyer and said, present your evidence. He stood up. He said, Your Honor, Mrs. Schmidt is 71 years old. She lives alone. Over the past month, she has made irrational financial decisions, cutting off her son and daughter-in-law without explanation. The judge said, cutting off financial support is irrational? He said, given the circumstances, yes. She has always been generous with them. This sudden change indicates cognitive decline. Frau Becker stood up. She said, Your Honor, may I present evidence? The judge nodded. Frau Becker pulled out documents. She said, Mrs. Schmidt has been financially supporting her son for 3 years, 18,000 euros in rent payments alone, plus furniture, groceries, and wedding expenses totaling over 25,000 euros. The judge's eyebrows raised. Frau Becker continued. She said, 1 month ago, her son asked for an additional 1,000 euros. Mrs. Schmidt said no. 2 weeks later, her son and daughter-in-law got married and did not invite her. When her son called demanding rent money, she refused. This is not cognitive decline. This is a woman setting boundaries. The judge looked at Max. She said, Mr. Schmidt, is this true? Did you exclude your mother from your wedding? Max shifted uncomfortably. He said, it was a small ceremony, Your Honor. The judge said, but you invited your mother-in-law? He hesitated. He said, yes. The judge said, but not your own mother? The woman who paid for the wedding dress? Max said nothing. The judge looked at Lena. She said, Mrs. Schmidt, did you tell your mother-in-law she wasn't special enough to attend? Lena's face went red. She said, it wasn't like that. The judge said, then how was it? Lena said, she was being negative about our relationship. The judge said, by asking you to pay your own rent? Silence. The judge looked at the petition. She said, this petition is denied. Mrs. Schmidt is clearly of sound mind. What she is not is a bank. Case dismissed. She banged the gavel. I walked out of that courtroom with my head held high. Max tried to stop me. He said, Mom, please, we can work this out. I said, no, Max, we can't. He said, I'm your son. I said, and I'm your mother. But you treated me like an ATM. And when I stopped paying, you tried to take my house. He said, we were desperate. I said, so was I when your father died. But I didn't steal from anyone. I worked. Maybe you should try it. I walked away, and I didn't look back. That was 6 months ago. I haven't spoken to Max or Lena since. They tried calling, texting, showing up at my house, but I don't respond because I finally understand something. Love isn't about money. And if the only time your child contacts you is when they need something, they don't love you. They love what you can give them. I'm 71 years old. I live in my small house, alone, but not lonely, because I have my dignity. I have my independence, and I have my peace. People ask me if I regret cutting Max off, and the answer is no, because I gave him everything, and he gave me nothing, not even a seat at his wedding. So tell me, if your child excluded you from their wedding after you paid for it, would you keep supporting them? Comment yes or no. And if you've ever been used as an ATM by your own children, write I understand. Because you're not alone. Subscribe to this channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers by March 2026. Share this story with a parent who needs to hear it. Like this video if it made you think, because parents like me deserve to be heard, and our boundaries deserve to be respected. I don't know if Max will ever understand what he did. I don't know if he'll ever apologize. But I know this, I'm done being used. I'm done being taken for granted. And I'm done sacrificing my peace for people who don't value me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being here. Because every view, every comment, every subscription reminds me that I'm not alone. That other parents have been through this. And that we deserve better. Take care of yourself. Set your boundaries, even with your own children. Because sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones you love the most.